so that you can actually have sound coming in so that you can see.
So mine seems to be, my mic seems to be working, but now I don't know that you actually had anything. So let's see. All right. All right, say something.
Something.
Okay. So hopefully everybody can hear us now. Sorry, I had
I'm
a
sure
bit
in
of
chat somebody will.
well, unfortunately, we're on a 5-minute delay, so it's going it's going to be a while before anybody says anything. But I'm seeing audio happening, so I'm assuming that's a good thing. And
So that means that you were just seeing your audio happening. Is my audio happening now?
yeah, so I have two separate lines, one for desktop audio, one for my mic. And now that you're not talking, I don't see a whole lot, so I believe that means that we're going, which is good.
And when I'm talking now, you should see little bars bouncing
Yep.
up and down, not hitting the red, not peaking, just in the green, maybe a bit in the yellow, and I get overexcited.
Anyway, so before we get into this, I figure it's good to go over the rules for how UHL works. So I'll just go over to this screen right here, and so basically UHL is a league format where you bring 3 decks each week, and you have to choose obviously 3 classes. And once you have used those classes, you cannot use any of those classes again until you have gone through all 9 classes. So basically it goes through a 3-week kind of rotation where you're bringing 3 new classes, kind of gets to showcase a lot of format. And then when you play a best of 5 with no ban and a conquest format. So tonight, we're going to have Ziggy Sarah versus Lore Master Eve, in case the audio is just now working. And yeah, it should be an exciting match. It looks like, let's see, so if I bring this up, we're going to have Eve is playing Rogue, Hunter, and Warrior, and Ziggy's going to be on Mage, Hunter, and Warlock. And I'm actually going to tell them to go ahead and just get started here. But why don't you kind of say your primary thoughts on this this matchup here?
So now, are we talking about exactly what they're playing, or should we be keeping that secret?
Yeah,
You've seen
no,
the
you
deck
can.
lists.
It's on a delay, so you can kind of talk about what decks they ended up bringing, and all of that. We don't have to hide that information.
Fantastic. Well, I think it's quite interesting that they've both bought Hunter. And as you say, the rules of the league are that you've got to bring all of the classes by the time you're done. And we've got here that Ziggy has Play Dead Hunter, so that's Death Rattle Hunter with Catherine Winterwisp and a bunch of big beasts, and the spell Play Dead, whereas Eve has got the more traditional Spell Hunter. Now, those are 2 very different decks, and you may not see them as much on the ladder these days, but they are still both very powerful decks, and will be interesting in these matchups. Ziggy has bought basically fully powered Q-Block for her Warlock deck, and that can spell problems for Eve's Spell Hunter, so that'll be an interesting a deck to look out for. Rush Warrior from Eve is also maybe going to struggle with that Q-Block, and Odrog from Eve also might have some trouble with that. So it seems like Ziggy's Q-Block is going to be the deck to watch out for tonight. On top of that, Ziggy has an Aggro Mage with Vexed Crow, which is not something you see as much these days, and Antonidas. But it will also struggle against Eve's Odrogue. So both players have decks that are really not looking forward to playing against the opposing decks. The Aggro Mage as well does not like to see Spell Hunter. And the Rush Warrior is probably also pretty good against the Mage. So there's a lot of that each player are probably hoping to juggle just to be able to face the decks that they do want to play.
Yeah, and already off to quite a fast start here. We see that Ziggy's playing the Vex Crow version of this this aggressive mage deck. Have you played? Did you get to play this before the Life Drinker became a little bit more popular?
No, I've never been a fan of playing the aggro mage decks. I'll play them if I have to, but mostly if I've played it of late, it's been with the Life Drinker. And the Vex Crow doesn't seem to me like it does much in any matchup where you need it to do something. And the Vex Crow just added that extra. Sorry, not Vex Crow. The Life Drinker added the extra reach that you might need for once you've lost the board. But you know, the opposite can be true. If you need to maintain the board, then the Vex Crow is going to be really good in that sense. So I'm just trying to bring out the match now so we can see both sides. I've got.
Okay, so
We're
already on turn 3, and it looks like Ziggy is basically just attacked her her Arcanologist into a couple secrets. One of them was a explosive trap, and the other one was a wandering monster, which actually brought out a South Sea Captain. and so it ate the Arcanologist, and now she's actually coining out an Arcane Missiles after she played Kirin Tor Mage and put a counterspell into play.
I mean, I personally, I think I would have wanted to do the Arcane Missiles first, just on the off chance you miss.
Yeah.
But one of the things that Spell Mage is really good at Hunter against Mage Spell Hunter is good against Hunters because against Mage, is those explosive runes just don't do anything against the Spell Hunter.
Yeah, and we
so
see
Ziggy getting some mileage out of the counterspell at least.
Yeah, and we see the fully upgraded Spellstone that's going to come out this turn, and, you know, Mage just doesn't have a good way to deal with 4 3/3s on turn 5. Like, yes, you were kind of a bit far ahead in the fact that you got to start the turn with Vexcrow in play, so now you can play a couple spells, get a couple 2-mana minions, but I think these 3/3s are going to do a really good job of just contesting even whatever comes out of this Vexcrow.
Yeah, see, that's the strength of the Emerald Spellstone. You can be behind on the board, then suddenly you can have the board all to yourself. And Ziggy really is going to be playing catch-up here to try and overtake those wolves. And, you know, what Ziggy really relies on is having a lot of burn damage hitting Eve in the face to be able to close out the game before Loremaster Eve can close out the game. But with explosive runes not hitting anything at any point, it's just going to leave Ziggy probably a little low on resources to get away with it. However, that mirror image is going to be a good way of holding back some of those wolves.
Oh man, to my side, one of the big reasons that you play Spell Hunter is for this card. It's going to create quite the board state for Loremaster Eve here, allow her to trade off a bunch of cards, but we can see she's already down to 16 life against a mage with now 2 fireballs in hand.
Yeah, why can I still can't see Ziggy's hand? So that's the important thing, right? Whether Ziggy can finish this race before Eve just dominates the board and closes it out herself. Let's try spectating Ziggy again. 2 fireballs in hand is very key for Ziggy. There it is.
Yeah.
Oh, and an Luneth. Oh. So yeah, you can see that Ziggy's only choice here is just go face and hope that Eve can't race her. And judging by what's going on the board, I think Eve's going to struggle to race against Ziggy at this rate. The Eagle One bows will help though.
It's actually kind of interesting. She could have actually just chosen to Fireball ping face and set up the Fireball for lethal next turn. I think I might have preferred that play to this one. Just cause...
Yeah, I think I agree with you. Like, because the Hunter's not going to gain any life in a hurry.
Yeah, the only life gain in the deck is actually going to be Deathstalker Rexar, right? So I guess this kind of plays around that, but yeah, I think
it's just one of though, you know.
Yeah, so and even then you can just drop a Luneth the next turn, and you're not really any worse for the wear.
I mean, it's not like Loremaster Eve has put enough pressure on Ziggy to make her truly regret that decision, but it will get close.
Yeah.
If Ziggy doesn't make plays this turn to keep herself alive just long enough to finish off Eve, that Breath of Syndragosa in hand might be helpful at stalling the board, and setting out double fireball next turn.
Yeah, and she's gonna go with the Primordial Glyph here. I assume that the last 4 mana is going to be spent on Fireball, so I kind of wonder what your choice is here. I think you probably just choose a little bit extra damage from the Cinderstorm, I would
Maybe.
assume.
See, I don't think the last 4 damage needs to be spent on Fireball, because you can spend that mana on 2 Fireballs next turn to finish her off. So all you need is 1 damage on the face now, and Ziggy's testing for the trap, finds the freezing trap. So I would say that if she wants 1 more damage on the face this turn, she'd need to use the hero power, and she's instead using the meteor to clear the board.
Got it.
I think that will probably buy her enough time anyway, so that's fine.
Okay, Unleash the Hound comes into hand. You kind of wonder if Eve's expecting
Unleash
double
the
Fireball.
Singular Hound.
Yes.
I mean,
I like this play a lot.
Yeah, so do I. Eve has played this enough. She's got to expect double Fireball, because anytime your mage opponent has played their Luneth, you will expect double Fireball, whether now or in the near future.
Yep. But I mean, even with this, even with double Fireball in hand, it does seem that Loremaster is going to have to draw some way to heal, because I don't believe there's a single card in her deck that's going to be able to do do 12 damage next turn. She's got essentially 5 showing, but getting the extra 7 out of 1 card is just not going to be good enough, I don't think.
No, of course. And like we can see her hand, there's just not enough damage there. I mean, I think if I was Ziggy, I would have gone Fireball, Frostbolt, Hero Power there, because that would at least lock down Loremaster's face as well.
Yeah,
Eve
prevent
not being
another
able to
3
attack
damage.
that.
Because
Yeah,
you
like
don't
if
know
there
that
was
there's like a beast plus double kill command is good enough there.
that's exactly what I was going to say. Beast and double kill command would have been exact. So being able to lock the face down with a frostbolt on Eve would have made sure Ziggy can make it to the next turn, but it doesn't matter.
Yep, Ziggy. Oh wow. Okay, so everybody just totally missed that first game.
The stream wasn't live.
The stream was live, but I never transitioned over into the game, so they just had to essentially hear that whole game from our position. But anyway, we're gonna go to a quick break. We'll transition actually back to our faces, and I'll tell them to hold.
I don't know if you can see it, but I'm finger gunsing at the camera.
And man, I am just not experienced enough at this. But why don't you talk about Patreon?
I was going to say that match there is an interesting one. I talked earlier about how some of these matchups they've got ahead of them are a little polarized, and the Spell Hunter against Aggro Mage is generally polarized the Spell Hunter. And when Aggro Mage in the previous metagame was quite popular, people were flocking to Quest Hunter just to punish them. Sorry, Spell Hunter to punish them. Gosh. But we saw that Ziggy still pulled out the win that game. Getting both fireballs really did help because, once that fully powered Emerald Spellstone, what do they call it? Greater Emerald Spellstone came down.
Greater.
For wolves, like that really put Ziggy under a lot of pressure. She needed to finish off getting enough damage on the board into Eve's face, otherwise those fireballs were never going to finish the game. And Ziggy did it. She had the mirror image to stall out the board to make sure the wolves couldn't prevent too much of her own face damage. And having 2 fireballs in hand meant that she could capitalize before Eve could make up for the fact that Explosive Runes does nothing against her. So like that's a great way for Ziggy to start the match, is taking one of her less favored matchups and winning it.
Yep. Just really well done there. I do like the way that Loremaster played the game. I think she gave herself the best options to be able to potentially win it. I was actually thinking that potentially turn 5, she ended up playing the Spellstone instead of trying to remove the Vex Crow with the weapon. I think maybe there's a chance that if she had gone for a more defensive line, preventing the Vex Crow from getting a bunch of 2-mana minions on there, maybe she could take the game a little bit longer and get there, but that just lets Ziggy, of course, use the weapon to kind of run away with the game.
Yeah, I agree. Like, as the game played out, that would not have been a great play from Eve. So instead, she just said, I see your board and I raise you my board. And I like that from the Hunter. I think that really just puts the Mage in a position where they're like, I haven't got many more turns to get damage out of my minions. I'm going to have to rely on my hand. And, Ziggy luckily had the fireballs and the weapon to be able to bring more burn she needed. But I like Eve's approach. If all you have is minions and not too much burn in hand, I'm gonna shut down the board for you. So yeah, I agree. I think Eve played that really well, and she just got a bit unlucky, and that's fine.
Yep. So before we go on to the next game, I do want to mention the Patreon. United Hearthstone League has a patron. A Patreon, and I know both of our podcasts that we do, we have Patreons, and it's so important for content creators who are putting all this time and effort into this to have a bit of support from the Patreon to kind of keep things going. I know Ferris puts in so much work every week. He's done just a really great job of bringing all these amazing content creators together, and it'd be really great if some more people could help support the Patreon. Currently, we have one patron, which is I should know this. I should have had this already on here.
I mean, honestly, I feel like given the amount of work that Ferris Biscuit has put in and achieved with the United Hearthstone League, I'm beginning to think Ferris Biscuit is in fact 5 or 6 smaller people in a trench coat, because he's done so much. This is an incredible project. The first season was great. The second season is just even better. Hats off to Ferris Biscuit for achieving this. It's incredible. I'm not even salty that he didn't ask me to join in, because we all know that my time zone is just a wee bit out in the open there.
So anyway, let's go ahead and let the players know to start game 2. And what do you kind of think what do you think that Lore Master Eve should bring to this next one, knowing that the two classes she has to face are Hunter and Warlock?
Well, I think Lawmaster Eve probably has to think that the best deck she has against that Q block, and she doesn't know it's necessarily Q block, right? Like, is probably going to be her Odd Rogue. So I think she wants to keep the Odd Rogue up her sleeve and try and get a win with Spell Hunter or Rush Warrior against Ziggy's Hunter. But I mean, it's gonna depend on what Ziggy queues up, and it looks like Ziggy's picked her Q block, and Lawmaster Eve's gone in again with her Spell Hunter. She will not be able to pull off a Barnes Charge in this format.
No, it's the Spell Hunter does feel a little bit powered down without the super powerful Barnes Yasiraj play on turn 3 with the coin. But this Spell Hunter, I mean, Rexar did get a huge upgrade with the new beasts that were added to him. So I actually, how do you feel about this matchup? I always thought this matchup was hard even before, especially when you didn't draw Barnes Yasarj. What have you played this matchup since?
I have.
Okay, and what do you think?
I have from both sides, and it is hard for the Hunter, but it is harder for the Hunter if it's straight control Warlock. So if Ziggy can pop out Doom Guards, they can obviously provide a bit of pressure. But as long as Lawmaster Eve is putting on some pressure of her own, like Ziggy's Serap's health can get quite low. Now we can see that Ziggy has a Dark Pact in hand, and a Lackey, and a Cube. So, oh gosh, and a Spellstone, and a Hellfire. Yeah, she's even got the Hellfire, which are all the tools she needs to make sure that Lawmaster Eve just can't get anywhere in this game. Which is a shame for Eve, but Eve can win these games. When we say it's unfavorable, that Q block is favored and Spell Hunter is not, that doesn't mean 100%. Like, there are games that Lawmaster Eve will be able to pull out. But judging by Ziggy Zera's hand, this is going to be tough. She's got all the tools she needs.
Oh man, and the Animal Companion really wanted to get a Huffer there to really be able to put some damage, and Leok is not really what you wanted to see, and then Mountain Giant off the top for Ziggy is going to be a nice little turn 4 play.
It's a perfect turn 4 play. Now, Lawmaster Eve has the deadly shot for it, which is obviously great, but being only able to attack the 2 with Leok, it's a little embarrassing. And she would probably much rather have got something like her Eaglehorn bow down, or gotten even some damage from her hero power in there before, instead of having to spend the 3 mana on the deadly shot.
Yep. And now that Possessed Lackey is going to come into play, and since Eve is not able to, put enough pressure in, this Freezing Trap's going to have to come down to prevent that Possessed Lackey from attacking and pulling out a demon.
So interestingly enough, this is exactly the kind of hand that Eve wants. She's got both kill commands. Freezing Trap means that if Ziggy Zera tries to attack with the Lackey, it's going to bounce. Ziggy might actually see through that and just go straight for the Dark Pact or a Hellfire or something to... Why is she mousing over her Faceless Manipulator? I have no idea. But like, there are ways that Ziggy can play around it, but like, this is the kind of draw that Lawmaster Eve wants if she wants to get away with it.
So I think the Ziggy really wants to trigger this Freezing Trap here. So I assume that her plan is to attack, and then she played the Faceless so that in case it is Freezing Trap, she's still going to be able to pull out a demon this turn.
Well, I think what she was really hoping was that it was an explosive trap, so she could cackle maniacally and rub her hands together and laugh. But yes, I mean, as you say, it does provide that redundancy against the Freezing Trap. And getting to use the Dark Pact to get her health way back up again is really very helpful.
Yep, and Hunter's Mark's going to come down. Actually, a pretty effective Hunter's Mark, getting 8 health off of that Void Lord. You know, even though it is a Void Lord and it's going to pop out a bunch of 1/3s, that's a fairly effective use of the Hunter's Mark there. Usually you don't get to reduce that much health from it.
No, and being able to convert that from Unleash the Hound to Unleash the 3 Hounds is obviously a great trade-off. For once, Leok paying off.
I actually wonder, what do you think about bumping the Leok in instead of using the weapon, so that the weapon could have cleared one of the 1/3s here?
I'm actually quite happy with the weapon doing it, because like, we can see a Defile there, whereas Eve is only smelling a Defile. But you want to put Leok at 1 health, it's going to enable a Defile to clear the board, whereas this way you're saying, at least you've got to have a Hellfire to take this Leok off the board.
Right.
Not that Leok is very threatening, but still.
Yeah, and just imagine how much damage this Leok... I mean, the Leok did pay off a little bit there, but imagine how much more damage it could have put in if it were a Huffer or even a Misha.
Well, that's true. Well, I mean, yes and no, because those hounds were trading with Voidwalkers because it was a Leok. And if this Leok is still in play in the next turn, the To My Side's obviously going to be a lot more powerful as well. Ziggy Sarah is not wanting that to be something that happens, so she's used the Spellstone and the Doomsayer to make sure that she can retain the board and the initiative.
Yeah, this seems like a board state where you really wish you were going to be drawing Rexar soon, because Ziggy's still at 26, and it just doesn't look like you're going to be able to get a ton of damage in anytime soon. I don't really see, but you have so much burst from hand that, yeah, it's kind of an interesting position here. I think you probably just have to hold the weapon.
Eve is, yeah, I think Eve is just hoping that Ziggy doesn't draw another Void Lord or Gul'dan, and hoping that once the coast is clear that she can just get a lot of these hits with the weapons and the To My Side in, and then finish off with the kill commands. But, you know, sometimes you're in an unfavored matchup and you just think, well, I just got to hope my opponent doesn't have it, and the cards I've played swing the way I want them to. I see a 9-mana card in Ziggy's hand, though, so next turn is going to be, a little painful for Portal Master Eve.
And the fact that you're not playing any minions means that you have to get a silence off of like a Deathstalker Rexar, which we don't see in play currently. And this Possessed Lackey is still going to be able to pull a couple Doom Guards, so not a great spot for Eve here. What do you think is going to be her path to victory? Oof.
For Eve?
Yeah. If she's going to be able to get there.
As I say, it's got to be the kill commands going face, and unfortunately she didn't even get a Huffer here to get extra damage.
Yeah.
We know the Lackey's going to pull a Doom Guard, which is going to help take out the Misha. We know the Void Lord's going to make sure that Eve can't get any more damage on the face on the ground. So I think I agree with you that Eve just needs to draw Deathstalker Rexar and go for the long game, and a long game that involves Ziggy not drawing Gul'dan anytime soon.
Yeah, unfortunately, I've played quite a few games while I am Deathstalker Rexar for an extended period of time, and just the 2-mana tax that you have on all of your minions just it eats up so much of your mana over time that even though these beasts that you're getting are so much better statted, it's just usually it feels like it's not enough.
Yeah, no, I agree. That's why we say it's an unfavored matchup. It's one of those things where beat for beat between the start of the end of the game and the end of the game, Q-Block just has better answers and better